Some of you will have been in attendance at the conference of Honorary Secretaries in London last week when I spoke on some of our current problems in the medico-political field. I said then that as an occasional alternative to my regular newsletters, I intended to try out an experiment of talking to you on a record. As always, as in the case of my regular newsletters, the intent is to give Honorary Secretaries as much factual and background information as possible. And certainly there's no shortage of information to pass on. My only limitation is the length of this record. I must add that this experiment has been made possible through the wholehearted cooperation of our Department of Audiovisual Communication through its director, Charles Engel. Let's start with what is possibly the most important matter which has suddenly been sprung upon us, namely the report by Sir Paul Chambers on his ideas for the future constitution and organization of our association. We asked Sir Paul in 1970 to take a long searching look at our organization, which I think most of us would agree has been creaking slightly over the years. Well, in the time which has elapsed, Sir Paul has talked to a large number of doctors, not only those at headquarters, but doctors up and down the country, and has obviously, in the time available, acquired a pretty good idea of where we ought to go from here. As you know, Sir Paul was formerly chairman of Imperial Chemical Industries. He is now chairman of the Royal Insurance Group, and he has, of course, got a vast knowledge of organization, certainly in industry, though I imagine he hasn't tackled a problem quite like the BMA, and that takes some tackling. Now, his report, which is published in the BMJ this week, is some 30,000 words. It's long, complex, detailed, but very readable indeed, and he argues his case with logic throughout. It would be wrong of me on this occasion to attempt to summarize the report or to give you my views on it. The time for that will come later. But what I want to do now is to give you an idea as to how the timetable is likely to work. As I said, the report is published in the BMJ this week. Obviously, as on-sex, you will want to read this, assimilate it, and get an idea of what it's all about so that you can, in turn, pass it on to your constituent members. I want every doctor to read this report thoroughly. It's certainly worth reading, and as I said before, very readable. Now, the report is going through the usual round of committees here. We've arranged for all our committees to have emergency meetings in the next 6 weeks, and Sir Paul has very kindly agreed to attend, at any rate, the most important of these standing committees. Now, we shall then have in the office here the, I imagine, quite difficult job of coordinating the views of the various standing committees, and this will form the draft of a report which we shall submit to the Council, which is having a special meeting on July the 5th. The Council will then have its first real debate in depth on the whole subject matter of Chambers, and then we shall be publishing in the BMJ in the week Saturday 22nd of July, the Council's advice to the profession on the Chambers report. Now, I ought to explain at this point that we are bound by a number of policy decisions by the representative body, one of which asks that there should be at least 3 months' notice before the between the time of the publication of the report and Council's advice and the date for the submission of resolution. So that limits our time to some extent. And also, it was the clear wish of the representative body that this report, and indeed any report on constitution, should form the subject matter of a special meeting of the representative body called specially for that purpose. And with this in mind, we've therefore decided to call a special meeting of the RB on Wednesday, the 15th of November. Now, I know this seems a long while off, but you know it's not going to be all that too much time to digest and assimilate a report of this complexity. It will also give you, as Honorary Secretaries, ample time to get to grips with the report, arrange for meetings of your divisions, so that the appropriate recommendations can be sent up for consideration on the 15th of November. Now, I want to make one point here. Clearly, you and your divisions will be more than fully occupied around this time in coping with the annual report of Council for the Southampton meeting, the ordinary ARM held in Southampton in July this year. As we shall not be able to publish the Council's view on the Chamber's report until the 22nd of July, I think it is right that you should advise your divisions not to rush into chambers, not to have premature discussions. I think it would be better to wait until the Council's digested it itself and given you the benefits of its views and advice. That means so, you would not, therefore, call meetings of your division to debate chambers until after the ARM at Southampton. This, I suppose, means allowing for the holiday period, calling meetings in second half of September or October. This will give you then ample time to get your ideas up to headquarters by the 27th of October. One further point, because of this timetable and because of the wish that the Chamber's report, the wish of the RB that the Chamber's report should be debated at a special meeting of the RB, please do persuade your divisions not to send up any amendments, motions, resolutions for the ARM at Southampton. Indeed, the Agenda Committee will not accept any motions on this subject for Southampton. We don't want a debate to go off at half-cock. Therefore, hold your fire on Chambers, adopt the programme which I've outlined, and then we can have a full debate in November on Chambers and Chambers only. I've sent you out this week a full circular with this timetable, which I think sets it out in some detail, but I hope these few words will help. Well, now, so much for the Chambers report. I'd like to say a word or two now about the General Medical Council. I suppose if ever there is an emotive subject, that is one. Let me bring you fully up to date on this. First, you will have received by now a letter from the President, Lord Cohen, about the GMC's decision to uplift the retaining fee from £2 to £5. It is, I think, unfortunate in that letter that reference is made to the association's position here, and I want to comment on this because I've no doubt some of your members will be ringing you up about it. Indeed, we've had quite a spate of letters and telephone inquiries on the subject in London. Now, where do we stand on the GMC? First of all, we are pressing very hard to get the legislation passed to give effect to the Bryn-Mawr-Jones Working Party. The thing that matters, of course, in the Bryn-Mawr-Jones Working Party is the government's decision to accept the recommendation to allow a very considerable increase in the number of directly elected representatives. Now, we've got very good reason to believe that the government regards this as a non-contentious item of legislation and will do their best to get this legislation through during this summer. At any rate, that's what we're pressing for. Now, if that is so, when you get your annual report of Council, you will see that our Council in London, the BMA Council, has recommended that we should, in future elections to the GMC, resume the old question of sponsoring candidates. And we've outlined a fairly comprehensive scheme to make this possible. That means to say that presumably there will be new elections to the GMC to take effect in 1973, and the new elections will, of course, be on the Bryn-Mawr-Jones proposals of this large increase in the number of directly elected representatives. Now, two other things have also happened with the GMC. Firstly, the GMC has now agreed that there should be an inquiry in depth into its finances, its budgetary control, its method of financial arrangements in the GMC, and this inquiry will be undertaken by a firm of chartered accountants with special expertise in business management. The firm has been chosen by mutual consent between the GMC and the BMA, and its inquiry will be made public. Secondly, on the question of functions, we have asked the GMC to set up a small working party containing representatives of the BMA and the constituent elements of the GMC, and this working party will be asked to consider a large range of areas of the GMC's present functions and see where the shoe is pinching most and what things can be put right. We've suggested that there ought to be an independent chairman, preferably one chosen from within the legal profession, and our proposals are going before the full council of the GMC in May, and of course we're therefore waiting for their reply. Meanwhile, where do we stand on the retaining fee? Well, I think we feel that doctors should pay this £5 retaining fee without prejudice on the same basis that they paid the £2 fee. What I mean by without prejudice is that they should continue to pay the £5, keeping their names on the register, keeping their options open until we get the detailed report on the GMC's finances and also the GMC's attitude to our other request about the question of their functions. Now, I've spent much longer on these two items than I had originally intended. For instance, I wanted to talk to you about the Industrial Relations Act, I wanted to talk to you about NHS reorganization, and a whole other topics. Now, as I said at the beginning, this is an experiment. This record only contains a playing time of about 14 minutes, and I'm advised that we're getting very near the end of this record. I've only been able to do with 2 points, and it'd be interesting to see how you react to this new method of approach. If you would like to write to me about this, well, of course, I'd be very glad to hear your comments. There are a whole host of other subjects I want to deal with, but obviously I can't deal with it on this tape. Therefore, I must close down now and deal with some of these other matters in a tape which I will send to you perhaps in 3 or 4 weeks' time. Well, here it is. I hope that in the comfort of your home you are able to listen to some of my odd thinking, just talking aloud about current affairs. I think this may be quite a helpful experiment. And as I said, if it is, we shall say, 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 if it is, we shall certainly continue in the future. Let me end by thanking you all for the tremendous help you give us at headquarters. I'm most anxious to increase the communications between headquarters and our divisions, and I hope that this method will be, 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 perhaps one of the more, perhaps one of the more, perhaps one of the more, perhaps one of the more happy ideas that we've had to promote this liaison. Goodbye.